A few years ago, I got pretty addicted to weed. It was about 3 years ago. It was my junior year of high school, and one of my childhood best friends actually passed away in a car accident. And I started to use it as the coping mechanism each day in order to go to sleep. And eventually it got so bad, I've never told anybody this, but I would actually go into class high a lot in the morning. I ask you to not judge me when I'm about to tell you this story because it's gonna make me sound bad. One day, right after we smoked, we actually headed over to a Wawa, which if you're not from the Northeast of America, a Wawa is pretty much like a convenience store that has a bunch of different foods and drinks and pretty much anything you could think of, it's pretty much in there. And so we finished smoking, we got in my truck and we drove over there and we get out. And the store is actually called Wawa, but people call it walk away with anything because that's how often people steal from it, and that's exactly what we did. And I can remember this was the defining moment that actually made me realize I needed to change. I needed to walk with God seriously. I'm sitting in the car, sitting in the driver's seat, and we're right up at the front of the store, right? So we're seeing the people walk into the door. And as my friends are sitting in my truck, they're laughing and talking and having a good time. As I'm sitting up there in the front, I'm watching people go in and out. I see a familiar face, someone I actually haven't seen in years. And when I realized who it was, it almost felt like, even though all my friends were in the truck and they were laughing all around me, it felt like time slowed down. It was actually my 5th grade teacher who had taught one of my older brothers. And she had pretty much thought the world of us. Like, my parents were pretty close with them and all this stuff. And if you can imagine it, I kind of had this realization set in of like how far I had fallen. I went from this really good kid that even like the teachers respected and like my parents were good friends with, to the person who would smoke when they went to school, smoke after school, steal from the store, and then drive around high. So I'm someone claiming to be Christian, wearing this cross necklace. In fact, I think it was the exact same cross necklace. Claiming to be Christian, wearing Christian tattoos on my skin, while I'm sitting in a parking lot high after just stealing from a store. This was the defining moment that made me realize I needed to change, and it's also one of the most valuable lessons that I've ever learned. And so if you're in high school, you're a Christian, I want to offer you some advice. Please understand the way that you conduct your life and the way that you live and the way that you treat other people, the way that you treat women, the things that you go participate in, all of it is a representation of Christ. And most people either, one, already have a false idea of Christ, and you are going to possibly be the one to correct that, or you're going to be the one that gives them an impression that Jesus isn't who he says he is. I think for any religion, any spiritual thing that you're going to look into, always look at the person that it's based around, right? I would look at Jesus, or if I was looking at Islam, I'm going to look at Muhammad, not the followers. But for most people, that's not the case, and you're going to be representing Jesus to them. And this is something that I did not follow at all. The cross was something more for me to complete my outfits than it was for something to complete my life. So I almost want to offer you a warning from experience. If you're going to be walking lukewarm, you need to get out of it, because you're going to give other people a false representation of who Jesus is. And if you're really trying to be committed, first of all, I applaud you, because it was something that honestly I really couldn't do. Be mindful of the way you speak. Be mindful of the way that you treat other people. Be mindful of the things that you joke about. Be mindful of the music that you listen to. Be mindful of the way that you date. Because as a Christian, you are now a representation of him. And especially in high school, because so many people are impressionable on what they're actually going to follow, what they're actually going to believe. So if you leave a almost bad taste in their mouth, quote unquote, like I did when I was younger, you're going to make it harder for people to come back to God, to come back to Christ. And even though I think just the average school is nothing more than an indoctrination camp, it's an attempt to program you. It's why everything is ran by bells on set time schedules that you have to go through, and you have to work with other people, and they discredit creativity and all this stuff, which sounds just like the way that you would work in a factory. It's the same way that it would work in prison, but that's a story for a different day. Maybe as Christians, maybe it's important that we should still try and excel in school, even if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, even if you wanted to do content creation. I knew that's what I wanted to do when I was 15, 16 years old. So I pretty much checked out of school, but maybe that's something we should be considering doing. And also, just as a final point, even though you're going to be trying to represent Christ and you want to do it in the best way possible, that doesn't mean turn into an anti-social person. In fact, I think Christians should be the most social people around, because then the more people you know, the more friendly you are, the more outgoing you are. First of all, the more people you can tell about Christ, right? The more people you talk to, the more people find out. But also, if you are operating in that good way, that's a good representation of Christ, and you are very social, the way that you act is merely going to make people attracted to Christ. So if you are going to be trying to live that out and try and show the goodness of Christ as you're going through school, try and be one of the most social people around. But that's really all I got. So Christ-focused self-improvement is what I teach. If this video helped you out, subscribe for more. I'm trying to post every single day. Down below in the description, I have a free community for young Christians. You're welcome to come join. I'm going to be doing a free call here very soon, coming up on 2,000 members. So as soon as we hit 2,000 members, I'll do a free call. So come join us right now. Like this video, subscribe for more, like I said, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.